Hi everyone, this is Balázs from RacingBrick. Today I have two sets from a very fresh theme. These are the Ferrari F1 helmets of Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. They look quite different yet very similar at the same time, and I'm really curious if we will see the same level of variety here as we had with the F1 Speed Champions cars. These are part of the new Editions theme, which so far seems to focus on sports. We've seen Nike sets, a bunch of football related releases, and now these helmets. Despite the adult display potential, these are not 18 plus sets. They follow a more minimalistic white background style, still clean but at least not all black this time. The boxes are nearly identical, helmets and minifigures on the front, extra angles and dimensions on the back, and photos of the drivers on the side. Let's open them up. Both sets have around 880 pieces, cost €90 or dollars, and will be available from the 1st of May, with pre-orders already active in some regions. Check the links below for local prices and details. Inside, the contents are also very similar: 7 numbered bags, 1 unnumbered bag with the visor, 2 sticker sheets and the manual. The manual starts with a minifigure, the driver, and the split view of the helmet, and that's pretty much all the extra content we get. Here are the part lists. There's quite a high variety despite the piece count, mostly thanks to the huge number of printed elements. Let me know if you spot anything interesting, and let's start with Hamilton's helmet. We begin with the base and the colorful Technic core. Very quickly we get into some funky assemblies with clip connections, and there will be a lot of those. This set is all about tricky angles and support structures, so it will be interesting to see how these will be connected. After the first two bags, the core is already taking shape, and most of the upcoming steps will focus on visible surfaces. Maybe except this assembly here with the pink brick, it might be a nod to the pink brain brick in the brick headsets. You can also see how small internal elements are used to lock clipped assemblies into very precise angles, a lot of careful engineering here. And here comes the first printed parts, there will be a lot of them. Capturing new elements when they are printed is tricky, because they will definitely have a unique ID. I think those were new parts, and these are as well. This assembly will be clipped in place, and those yellow 1x1s will hold it at a specific angle. It is quite solid, but this section at the end can still move slightly. Yet another new part, and unlike those fairly generic slopes, this was clearly designed to fill a specific gap here. We also get clever solutions like using ring pieces as spacers to achieve off-grid positioning for the side assemblies. The black section behind the visor clips in at the front, while the rear connections are left floating but still keep everything in place. Honestly, I can't imagine how all these angles were calculated to fit together properly. Now comes the visor, obviously a brand new piece designed specifically for these sets. And here's where things get interesting with the stickers. The smaller transparent ones go on the sides, and LEGO actually included a set of extras here, which is definitely appreciated. The larger ones are even more interesting. Once again, there is a pair of number 3 stickers, but then we also get an alternative design split into 3 parts with numbers 4, 5 and 6, which are never mentioned in the manual. Adding these on the sides was straightforward. The large central one is a bit trickier, the notch in the middle and the HP logo help with positioning, then you can carefully apply the two sides. It is not perfect, but it does the job. Including a spare was definitely a good idea, though I'm not sure about the smaller 3. Once that's done, the visor clicks into place and we continue filling the remaining gaps around the front. There are a few familiar elements here as well, like a printed windscreen piece reused from the Too Fast Too Furious Honda S2000. We have smaller and larger parts to fill the gaps, and the front is mostly covered. The rear section needs some additional internal support, and fun fact, even a hidden internal 2x2 tile is printed with the LEGO logo, which is something I don't think I've seen before. Part orientation changes constantly during the build, which makes the whole process surprisingly engaging. Another part that doesn't really feel new but couldn't find it based on the number on it, we have a printed pair here. The final sections are a bit tricky to attach, and then we have 2 printed 2x2 dishes to place on these rods. The plug is made of 2 printed 2x6 tiles, and finally we add the minifigure to the stand and we are finished. So here is the completed helmet, and before we go further, let me bring in the second one as well. I'm sure many of you will ask, are there no build details about that one? Well, there's not much to show as the building process is 100% identical. Same steps, same structure, only the colors and prints are different. I was honestly expecting at least some variation, but considering how similar the rear helmets are in shape, it does make sense after all. Still, you are essentially building the same helmet twice, just in a different livery, very on brand for Formula 1. I did try something different with the second helmet though, applying the non-documented 3-part stickers on the visor. While the center part is easier to place, getting a clean, continuous look across all 3 pieces is quite challenging. The single piece version is definitely the better option. Now let's take a look at the minifigures. Both have printed torsos, the front is the same, but the back includes the driver's name. The legs are also unique with their race numbers on the belt. The heads are new, with a single facial expression and clearly designed to resemble the drivers. I will let you decide how accurate they are. Even the hairpieces seem to be new, which makes these minifigures fully unique. But there's one very strange omission: no minifig scale helmets. You can use a generic Ferrari helmet from the Speed Champions set, but it's really not the same. Now let's take a closer look at the builds themselves. From a distance, they look quite convincing, the shaping is decent, and the amount of printed detail is honestly impressive. Apart from the visor, everything is printed. There are some compromises though. For example, both helmets are missing the small rear winglet you can see on the real ones, and there are also visible gaps, especially around the front. These are much more noticeable on the yellow helmet. Another issue is under that windscreen piece, where some studs remain exposed, again more visible on this one. The helmets are based on 2025 designs by the way. In terms of stability, the builds are solid overall, but there are a few sections you probably don't want to touch too much, like that problematic area above the visor. These assemblies at the bottom rear also feel a bit loose, and those at the front have a certain range of motion, so you might want to align them properly. The stands are mirrored by the way, so the two helmets can be displayed nicely together. So, are these worth €90 or dollars? At first glance, the number of printed parts and new elements could justify the price. But here's the catch: almost all of these parts are extremely specific to this build and very hard to reuse. These are 100% display pieces. And that's where it becomes interesting to compare them to real helmet replicas. They fall somewhere between smaller 1/5 scale and larger half-scale display models in terms of size and price, but in terms of realism, they obviously can't compete with actual replicas. What they offer instead is a unique and surprisingly complex building experience, although if you are a completionist, the second build will not feel as exciting for sure. And of course, the exclusive minifigures, which is great but also a bit controversial, including personalized drivers only in the €90 set, while the much cheaper Speed Champions car got a generic figure feels like an intentional decision, and even these sets are missing the customized minifig scale helmets. So overall, these sets are a bit of a mixed bag. Great and complex build, lots of clever solutions, tons of printed parts, lots of new elements, unique minifigures, even spare stickers for the visor, seems to be a complete package. But also no minifig scale helmets, limited part reusability, and still some visible compromises in the final look. It really feels like LEGO is getting closer and closer to the uncanny valley of display models, attempting to balance realism, building experience, fully custom parts versus reusable parts, and the limitations of the LEGO system. The question is, will that balance work long term? But now it's your turn. Let me know what you think about these two sets, the build, the look and the minifigures. Let's talk about them in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe with notifications, as more exciting LEGO videos are coming soon. See you next time, bye bye.